We all know the cases where a movie has been shown in a theater and some young idiot has put up a prosumer camera,
very good camera,
at the back of the stalls, and then sells that content to his school friends. 4K,
who then put it on the internet and then it flows around.
4K delivers this high quality content to potentially, every home in the country. How are you going to protect that content? How can you stop that sort of thing happening? Can you stop that sort of thing happening?
You will not be able to stop it. It's like the tides in the ocean. It's something that you can not control, but you can manage it. And it was HBO and also other companies have actually said it, that some level of piracy could actually be the marketing for the Game of Thrones, for example.
Sure.
However, now they take corrective measures because now they actually go to the pirate who actually launched on the internet himself the season 5. So there is a certain level, a threshold where it's acceptable, but above the threshold it really starts to eat in your revenues. So what we do, we work together with the SCSA, with the studios directly, with all the ecosystem. And of course we have also had discussions with the movie labs and actually contributed to those specs to really control that level of piracy. Our view is that it's not just a technology approach. So yes, you can do your watermarking and all the forensics around it. You can work with DRMs, you can harden the DRMs, you can work on conditional access in whatever flavor. But it's also very much the intelligence that you need to apply around that. The reporting on piracy, to do takedown notices to ISPs, to really contain it as much as possible. But it is an as much as possible thing. But if you don't do that, you really disrupt the business model of those who create that content, and there's no incentive for them anymore to actually produce that content. If it really goes viral, why would you even make the content in the first place?
Sure. And I think there's a really big problem. The usage of Games of Thrones is fantastic because we always look at content protection as being an end distribution problem. But as we're seeing at
Christmas, at the beginning.
You can completely collapse the value chain by actually intercepting and getting hold of a 4K master, by actually breaching networks, and it is either human error or straight network intervention that has both compromised major movie releases and major series. And the key issue here is that traditionally content protection and the piracy issues have been fighting against show scan using a camcorder in a cinema. It's a whole different ballgame when you're talking about getting hold of pristine 4K and UHD masters. So I think it's both a problem of network protection at content producers who are dealing with very, very attractive assets, and the whole basis of our industry relies upon both in distribution being case hardened by the recommendations of movie labs, as well as traditional cybersecurity methods.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's about securing the whole value chain. So as soon as the content is there, that's where you need to put your content protection mechanisms in place, really at the server side, at the earliest versions, and then track it down over the whole life cycle of that content in every window where it flows. Also in DVDs, for example, and in Blu-ray.
And 4K Blu-ray when it comes out this year. They're going to be beautiful products in every way.
And that's where we have our Ultra HD Blu-ray solution, because we do, as part of the BD Plus acquisition that Idetta did a while ago, provide those solutions as well.
We need to wrap up on time, but I'm not letting you go until I actually establish the size of the market. Netflix can deliver one-to-one. It can make $5 here, $6 there. It doesn't matter. How big does a market need to be in a single country to launch 4K services? If this year the UK, France, and Germany each have more than 1 million installed sets, maybe even 2 million, according to some forecasts, is that a big enough market? Can we expect broadcasters to have standalone services this year, by this winter?
Well, I think they're going to fine cut it, and what they're going to do is launch set-top boxes that will allow them to both embrace the existing VOD streaming services, plus add their own documentary and drama service, and gain the kind of branding prestige that Netflix and others have gained. Strictly speaking, to answer your question, the tipping point for a format is when you've got reception at the home between about 10 and 15%.
Okay.
That's when it starts to get attractive.
10 to 50% of the television households?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I mean, some people could facilitate that, and already we've talked about the backwards compatibility issues with existing screens, because make no mistake, some broadcasters are saying we will support all UHD screens that are out there, and some are saying we will only support them from a defined date. Undoubtedly, you know, with the introduction of HD services, the broadcasters did a lot and spent a lot of money establishing a basis to which to broadcast. So I think that it will evolve from VOD streaming for the early adopters. Once it gets to that 10-15% level, people are then saying, oh, this is of real interest to us now. You know, we will talk about traditional live linear channels starting to move over, where the majority of content will be upscaled HD content, but they will have the prestige sports events to actually pull in viewers and then bring it up so that you're getting more to the 25-30% type region, and you can charge premium subscriptions of it, and that's where it gets to be really exciting as a proposition.
Now, a quick run across the table. The EBU, as I said earlier on, seems to be suggesting to people, hold back, don't do anything. 8K is coming. Now, I hate to mention 8K, but Japan is steaming ahead with its 8K plans. There's no doubt about that. Is 4K just an intermediate solution before 8K? Ian, a short response?
Could be if the standards bodies don't get their act together, but 4K does represent a good match between what the content's being produced in and the size of living rooms that people have typically got. But 8K will be a success in digital cinema, and anything that involves producing an asset in high quality for whatever distribution media is going to be successful. But I would be looking for 4K in the short term.
George?
I think in 5 or 10 years, yes, it will be 8K, and then it will be 16K, of course. But
I'm not so sure about that. But
50 channels of audio, yes, and 16 bits per color, of course, everything, and 300 frames per rate. But for at least 5 years, I think it will be only 4K.
Johan, how do you see?
Of course, in Japan they will launch in a couple of years. They will launch
next year.
8K, yeah.
8K tests next year,
yes,
and thereby exploit the Rio Olympics. Yeah. You know, they'll have that signal.
Yeah, I don't believe in waiting, and explain why. I think that all improvements we do, like in this area, will enable new innovation. We usually tend to see everything from the traditional use case, sitting in the sofa watching the TV on the wall. Now, when you increase the quality of the content, there might be new ways of consume that content, new displays, new scenarios and so on that we don't know today. And the sooner we get this high quality content, the sooner those innovations will start. So I think, don't wait, get this out and see what is the consequences of this. And I'm sure there will be 8K in a couple of years. But then maybe we have a few more scenarios to talk about how that will be used than we have today.
And how it'll get to the home and what the viewer expects. Rudert?
I think it's a path of incrementalism. I mean, we had millions of years without television, right? Then we had
picture art on walls.
60, 70 years with SD, which was split in black, white, and then full color, right? Then we had HD, which is like 15 years. Now we expect that 4K and Ultra HD will be there pretty soon. It's there. And we discussed now that in 2020, 2022, in Japan it will be 8K. I think those cycles get shorter and shorter, and also with the buying cycles of consumer getting shorter and shorter, because people bought a TV set for 15 years, and then it was broken and you bought a new one. I buy a TV set every 2-3 years because it has new features on it, but I buy them cheap because otherwise I don't get my own personal return of that investment. So I think it's an incremental path, and I think 8K will be there, but in probably 5 to 8 years from now.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I did see some 8K, and the NAB, they were showing it as well. NHK had its theatre there. I saw some 8K down at MIP, provided by NHK, down converted to 4K.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, it was stunning. It was stunning. So there is a place maybe for 8K in the production cycle, but maybe for the moment, let's keep it to 4K enjoyment. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Great session. Thank you, everyone.